Wednesday. April the 17th, okay? Not March 17th. That would be St. Patrick's Day. Rob Brown, Brendan Martin, got a lot to cover today. Jake Wimberly, ESPN 105.9, The Drive in Jackson checks in.
He's great.
Yeah, all things Mississippi. Cool thing is he's a civil engineer, and he's going to have his matrix on football that he'll be publishing soon that really looks ahead at the SEC and college football in a way that mere mortals can't even dream about. Also, Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. John Calipari, awesome. The dividends are already paying big time for Arkansas as Calipari. Look, he won at UMass. Okay, I don't need to even tell you how hard that is to do. That's like having a great hockey program in Clewiston, Florida, or in the muck, okay? Very difficult. Now, followed up after that, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. We will talk with him. Shout out to Mark Ham, Tom Rainey, Kurt Ham, 3 great volunteers, Rocky Top, Tennessee Tailgate Report, covering a lot of SEC. We're going to be all over the place. And
around the SEC we go. Where we stop, nobody knows.
Hey,
Audrey, I need my coffee. I can't find it. I've got wine in here. It doesn't look like I can drink it right now. It's like vinegar. It's been in here so long.
Well, it has been. Well, you can only get
flies
coffee
everywhere.
You can only get coffee that tastes like that in the muck. Clewiston, Belglade, Immokalee. I'm telling you.
That's where Billy wants to recruit from.
That's right. Now, look, those kids are tough. You recruit kids. If I'm a coach, I want to recruit kids that are tough. I had a football coach tell me he recruited a kid to Auburn one time. He said, I went to recruit the kid. He had to get up every morning about 5 o'clock in the morning to go gather firewood to make sure they could get a fire burning to cook breakfast. And he worked on the farm and just grew up having to do whatever he had to do. And he doesn't even remember when he started working. He was so young. He goes, I want that kid. And he ended up, of course, playing at Auburn, played a long time in the NFL for the Vikings. Bottom line, we're going to tell you the stories, the cool stories. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner.
That's right.
Allow notifications on your Android, on your iPhone. And I am
watching
wearing
on
this
Facebook.
shirt right here.
If you're watching on Facebook, just click the follow button. And don't be worried if you missed the show. You can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask.
You join us a little bit late. Just rewind that thing. It's good. Hey, we got Jake Wimberly in the orange and blue room. Where's a lot of Gators going on right now?
There's movement in the aisles here in Scottsfield and Starkville, Mississippi. As Jake Wimberly makes his way here on Radio Row, the voice of ESPN 105.9 in the bold new city, Jackson, not too far from my favorite, Canton, Mississippi, home of Ayoops on the Square. All right,
I'm cutting you
back.
off.
Here we go.
I'm cutting you off right now.
All right, no more calls.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, I want to say good morning to Jake Wimberly down in Jackson, Mississippi. This first segment brought to you by Gateway Tire and Service Center. We go the distance for our communities and people that we work with, the businesses and everywhere. Gateway Tire and Service Centers all over the South. Jake, let's get to talking, man. It is that time of year. I looked at the calculator Monday. 3 months from now, SEC Media Days in Dallas. We know what that's going to be like. We all remember it. The giant billboard that says Texas in the bottom right-hand corner, very small, welcomes the SEC. Are you ready for this?
You better be. right?
Yeah, damn right.
It's here. It is here, and Texas and Oklahoma are in the league. And of course, while we finish out baseball and the rest of the calendar season, I mean, everybody has turned their attention to recruiting. Obviously, the transfer portal and what the 2024 college football season is going to be, and it's starting to take shape. Obviously, there'll be some maneuvering in rosters over the next month to month and a half. But I mean, we are, believe it or not, as you said, I mean, we are right on top of it. Spring games in high school football here in the state of Mississippi will be here before you know it, and off and running we go.
Well, Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby's there. He was at Ole Miss, we know. Then he went to Oklahoma, but he's back. He's got to have a very strong knowledge, knows relationships with the high school coaches in Mississippi. Per capita, they stack them up in the state of Mississippi. A lot of great players. What are you hearing about his road trips and how they're doing in recruiting in Starkville?
Well, I think the energy early is positive. If you look at his first class, which obviously was an abbreviated, recruiting effort for his staff, being a new staff. But, I mean, they picked up several skill talent players in the state of Mississippi. Stonka Burnside out of Starkville High School, big wide receiver. You got to remember, this team had very little talent on the skill position set last year. If you look at just returning starters for Mississippi State, lowest in the Southeastern Conference, 4 returning starters. New staff, new players, new quarterback, new everything. I mean, this is going to be a totally different Mississippi State football team. I mean, a lot of the fans are going to sit there in the stands first game or two looking at the old program or the rosters going, hey, we got to get familiar with this team because it is a brand new team. But as far as recruiting, I mean, I think when you look at what Jeff Lebby has done, he's reached out and tried to touch all the high schools, try to get familiar with those programs. Obviously, he's got some guys on his staff, and Chad Bumpus and others that are very familiar with the recruiting roads of the state of Mississippi. But Jeff Lebby has said, hey, look, within 500 miles of this place, that would be Starkville, we can go grab the players we need to be successful. And I think that's his mindset is, hey, we keep it in state, but then we look outside and have our buffer and our kind of our recruiting zone, and that's where we're going to focus.
Well, you look at Mississippi State's the last few years. Last year, Zach Arnett, it didn't work. Did you think, like I did, well, since they've named him the head coach, it was more of a, we don't want any more disruption. Let's let him try it. I just thought he would have a better knowledge of the offense, having worked with Mike Leach those years, and he would just keep doing the same thing. Was that a case of him going, I'm not Mike Leach, I'm going to be my own man, and it blew up in his face?
Yeah, I think you could definitely say that. And let's not forget this, too, and you guys know this. I mean, we talk about the air raid. We throw that term around very loosely in football. There's a lot of coaches from Josh Heupel to Lincoln Riley, and you can go down the road here of guys that Cliff Kingsbury that run versions of the air raid. Mike Leach was still the only guy that ran the true air raid. So, there were guys on that staff that I think they could have kept, and Steve Spurrier Jr. and some others to make that thing work. But I do think that there is validity in what you said, and that, hey, my team, my way, and his way just wasn't the way.
Ray Perkins took down the tower when he got the job. A proud native son of guess what town in Mississippi?
Ray Perkins. Was it, oh boy, I'm going to butch this. Hattiesburg?
Petal. Right next to Hattiesburg.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I love Hattiesburg. One of my favorite triathlons, the Hub City Hustle at the Canebrake subdivision. Let me just tell you this. Don't ever put a bike together the night before a triathlon. The seat came off going downhill about 35 miles an hour. I was lucky I wasn't impaled like a Pez stick. But anyway, let's get going. Mississippi State.
God, I didn't need that this morning.
Yeah, that was
early to think about a seatless bike, Rob.
Yeah, its seat came off, but I put it back on.
A little bit of how is your father, I don't need that right now.
But Hattiesburg is one of the hottest towns around. I mean, it is scorchingly hot. I want to ask you about Mississippi State football also, the NIL collective that they have there. What's it called, and how are they doing in terms of raising money?
It's Bulldog Initiative. Charlie Winfield does a great job with that program. He is an attorney for the university. Yeah. Also has a business there in Starkville. Charlie's a great guy. He's a part of variations of Mississippi State's broadcast program as well, and different sports. Pre-game, I believe, in football. But look, the collective has done a good job. It's a what I would consider a nice collective. It's not. I mean, look, I'm sure you guys saw the report yesterday. Ohio State just shy of $40 million on their staff and NIL this year. They're not ever going to be mistaken for that. But, I mean, I think there's money in the program inside the collective that has done a good job. And we tend to focus on football because that's what we do. But let's not forget basketball, baseball, all the other.
Yeah.
So I think the Bulldog Initiative has done a really good job. Obviously Ole Miss, I think a little bit better that they've got, we can talk about that another day or even today, that their fundraising efforts are a little bit differently and done differently. Everybody's different, but the Bulldog Initiative, I think, has done a really good job of keeping things going in the right direction.
The profit center at Mississippi State, like it is at most schools, has got to be the College of Engineering. Y'all got a $100 million gift from one of your folks out of Houston. I think he's in the oil and gas business, but I just, that figure you gave about Ohio State, that's look. I know schools. You got to that's sick. This is college football. Are you getting a sense when you talk to fans, which you do every day? ESPN 105.9, the afternoon drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Are they getting frustrated with this and feeling like they're losing control? Like, hey, we support the school. We buy season tickets. We don't enter the portal. We've been through some bad years, but these kids are coming in here and just taking advantage of us. And I'm tired of them being portrayed as victims. That's a bunch of BS. And you know what? I'm sorry. You're 18 years old. You're a man. If you're playing football, we don't owe. I'm a capitalist. You know that. But I hate hearing that figure because what you just said about Mississippi State, I do not want to see the SEC become 6 teams with just a pile of money. I don't want to see that. I guess maybe I look beyond just, I want to win every game for my school. I do. I love, though, the relationships more than anything with all the different fan bases. I don't want to lose that.
No, I would agree with you. And yeah, of course, there's definite frustration, but I think it goes to every fan base, right? I mean, I think every fan base has a portion of it that's frustrated with this, that's aggravated with this, just of what you said, the entitlement. I mean, you saw the Alabama offensive lineman that was in the portal, out of the portal, back in the portal. I mean, so this is something that, sustainability, how long does it last? I don't know that it goes to another 5 years or another 10 years for that matter. I mean, you saw, I'm sure, the story that Sportico dropped yesterday on the Super League. And if you did not consent to, it dropped late yesterday quickly. Just kind of a drop on the Super League, obviously, that a bunch of financiers and academia people that put together, and how they would propose to pull together and get this league kicked off. And everybody's going to have their own proposals on this because I think everybody's looking for a way out of this. I mean, how do you monetize and how do you regulate NIL? Because I think what we're going to see, and I had a great question from a listener yesterday. It said, do you think the National Football League would ever step in on this? And I don't know that they can do anything, but Nick Saban said this a few weeks ago, or right after his retirement. He said, hey, and I'm paraphrasing, we're getting word out of the NFL that already some of the players are not coming to the league as developed as they were even 5 or 10 years ago. And I think a lot of that is the focus on the wrong thing. So I think if the college athlete in football begins to manifest itself in such a way into the National Football League where the players are not ready, the league may look at the college football leaders and go, hey, it's time for you to clean your closet up a little bit. You guys need to fix this. I don't care how you fix it, but we can't continue down this path. This is not a long-term solution to the problem.
Yeah, it's not. And I'll tell you a scary story. An orthopedic surgeon told us about, he said these young residents that are coming in now, their first, second-year residents, are bitching and whining and going to HR if we chew their butts out. You're a doctor. For God's sake, in fact, I had lunch with a group of people in Little Rock last Wednesday. It was awesome. And one of the doctors, he's 92 years old. He still semi-practices. He's available if needed, but he said something. He goes, I remember when I was a resident one time, and it was Thanksgiving, and I had gone 43 hours without, stopping pretty much. He goes, all I had for Thanksgiving was a half of a bacon biscuit. He said, but I didn't quit. And I totally agree with you. I have heard this. This is crazy. I'm not an agent, but I have heard these kids are coming in now. You're right. They're not developed. You absolutely. The number one thing you hear about in sales today is the young people. They refuse to answer the phone. You got to email them or IB them, instant Bloomberg. Answer your damn phone. And I got a lot of doctors in our family I've grown up with. And they were the most selfless, giving people in the world. I'll tell you one of them, Dr. Whit Wills, one of my friends in my Cursillo group, goes down to Haiti every year for a week and a half and just volunteers free dental care. We're not going to have people like that if we don't stop this, Jake. You're a numbers guy. You're incredible with metrics. Let's talk about college football right now. What you see in the SEC, top to bottom, because as Jack Crystal would often say, there's movement in the aisles here in Scottsfield and Starkville, Mississippi. Jake Wimberly has the numbers.
You can go to cfbhourglass.com. We got a lot of articles out right now, probably north of 25 or 30 already. Team previews. Already got a college football national champion picked. Got a matchup picked. As far as the SEC is concerned, I think it's Georgia's game to lose. I think it's Texas's game to win in the league. And I think it's those two. And then I think it's everybody else. When I chalk through everything, and again, we'll see what this next portal movement brings. I don't know that it's going to change a whole lot, especially on the top. But, when you talk about, and what was interesting to me, Rob, is to this year, and just for a little, quickly, just revisionist history on the way I do things is, obviously we put metrics together that identifies teams based on talent. There's a talent trend, a quarterback metric, coaching metric. It's kind of a 3-year trend. We use offensive, defensive scoring efficiency, a lot of different things in there. But what was interesting to me is how to quantify talent with the transfer portal, because, used to you could go back and you could say, okay, 4-year average of this team, Alabama's number 1, Georgia's number 2, down the road we go. But then, I always have used a 3-year metric on talent. Well, with the transfer portal, now it's about 2 years of a roster, and then you got to figure out this transfer portal. So all that to say is what's interesting is when you look at the talent trend and the way the transfer portal is, now Georgia still is number 1, and I pull my numbers here looking on the spreadsheet. Georgia's still number 1, right there, Alabama. But look, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Ole Miss, there's not a whole lot of difference in the talent between those teams, where 5-10 years ago, Bama was far and away, Georgia even far and away. But I think because of the attrition, and you look at it, don't even really talk about this, Georgia and Alabama both, way more players out than players in the transfer portal. Now, obviously, they recruit extremely well, but where that hurts those guys is not necessarily the starting 22. It's the depth on those teams. We saw that happen with Alabama against Michigan in the national semifinal game. A lot of people are asking, well, gosh, why don't they put another center in there, the guy that kept snapping the ball, hitting the ground? They didn't have another guy. I mean, they didn't have another guy they believed in. So all that to say is I like Georgia and I like Texas. I like Georgia to win the SEC. I like Texas to, beat Georgia and Austin early, but I like Georgia to return the favor in the championship game. But I also like Ole Miss to get to the playoff. And, we can chalk through this too. I like Tennessee. Everybody's talking about Missouri. I really like Tennessee. And I think if Nico can be the quarterback, a lot of people feel like Tennessee's going to have a big year as well.
All right. I talked to one of the smartest football friends I have. He's a great friend last night at length. The coach that people are not talking enough about, I think he's the best defensive line coach in America, hands down, is Bo Davis. Bo Davis made a difference in Texas. They probably won 4 or 5 games last year, and he had the Outland Trophy winner on his defensive line. You know what? I know Nick Saban had a lot of success with him, and my friend pointed out the way Saban did it, a player like Marcel Darius out of Huffman High School, who made the $1 million hit on the funny bone of Colt McCoy in the 7th play of the national championship in the Rose Bowl, January 2010 in Pasadena. Alabama went on to beat Texas. Bo Davis is now at LSU. They've always got the big lineman there. Jake, when you think about that, look where Bo doesn't look at stars. He looks at a player, and I can see, is he a wrestler? Is he a track and field guy? Talk about Bo Davis, what you know of him. I think Texas is going to miss him way more than people imagine.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's a big hole to fill for Texas. And, you reference LSU. The problem with LSU I'm looking here right now, I've got LSU chalked out to finish, 9-3 on the year, 9-3 on the year. But when you look at LSU, obviously you got to replace Jaden Daniels. But Newsmeyer, there's a lot of positive love about him. They're going to have offensive skill talent. They've recruited well. They've just got to get the defense turned around, and Bo Davis is going to be a big part of that. Now, the question is defensive scoring efficiency wise, LSU was around 95th in the country last year.
Yeah.
It was awful. We know how bad they were. How much can they move that? I mean, typically you're not going to see a team move that into the top 10 or the top. They're not going to make a jump. If they can get that thing into the 50s, if they get into the 40s, that's unbelievable. But yes, Davis will definitely make a difference. Texas, I think Steve Sarkisian has done a great job with his staff, putting guys in position, after guys leave the program, at least early, to make a difference. And they have recruited extremely well. So I think Texas, more so than Oklahoma, is ready for the Southeastern Conference. But again, don't sleep on Oklahoma either. I mean, I think they're going to be a tough out for most everybody every week.
Yeah. And when Dillon Gabriel left to go to Oregon, a lot of people will tell you he's 5'10", probably not going to be. Well, again, Kyler Murray is 5'8". He's 5'8", but he can run like a gazelle. Dillon Gabriel, hell of a quarterback. He probably got 1.5 to 2 million is what we're told in NIL from Oregon. I think he took that money and said, I'm probably not going to get that money playing in the NFL. That's what we're having happen in college now. And there's a big difference. I'm going to have lunch today after the show with Chuck Oliver. You know Chuck, the king of college football in the South.
Tell Chuck I said hello.
I will. And we're less than a mile away from him. And we're going to meet for lunch at his favorite sandwich shop. It's like that place Letterman used to have. He used to go to on Times Square. And anyway, Chuck made a point last year that when Hugh Freeze took over at Auburn, the talent gap was the widest it had been in 41 years when Pat Dye took over in 1981. But two things jump out to me on that one. The class that Auburn signed in February of 1980 was ranked 9th out of 10 in the SEC. And that had guys like Greg Carr, who went on to become an All-American linebacker, played 7 years for the Steelers. He's now an orthopedic surgeon in Birmingham. Lionel Little Train James. But the first full class he had in 82, Coach Dye, that was the class with Bo Jackson and Tommy Agee. And Allen Evans was the number one running back in the country, and he never really got on the field. You can close the gap. Back then, they went from 5-6 to 9-3. With the portal in NIL, Jake, can't you close it faster than ever now for any school?
Yeah, I think that you can. I mean, just because, you bring in 20 players doesn't necessarily mean that, you're going to make a jump by 3 or 4 wins. I mean, you look at Colorado. I mean, Deion Sanders has changed these things, like socks every day. But I mean, now they're looking for new offensive linemen. They don't have an offensive lineman returning, so he's got to do that again. So I think it depends on who you are and how you're doing it. And what I mean is this. You take what Florida State was able to do, and you look at the way Florida State and Mike Norvell was able to transform their team last year. That was a big – I mean, you look at some of those skill position players, all of those guys were transfer portal players. You look at what Ole Miss has done and the way that they have been able to, transform their program. I mean, so, yes, you can absolutely do it. If you look at Miami, I mean, for instance, the Miami Hurricanes, I mean, they're kind of all in on this too. I mean, quarterback Cam Ward in from Washington State really, kind of trying to change their team. So the one thing that it has shown us is that quarterback, we knew this is the prime position. Almost every quarterback in almost every league is going to be a transfer quarterback kind of guy. I mean, you look last year, the defunct Pac-12, every quarterback was a transfer quarterback. In the SEC, almost every quarterback is a transfer quarterback. So more so than ever, it's in the quarterback position. But yes, you can absolutely change your worth with the transfer portal if you're careful and calculated.
Yeah. I will say this. I think Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe, for what Kalen DeBoer really wants to do, Ty Simpson's his quarterback. And I know that Milroe was 5th in the Heisman. Ty Simpson is – I'll predict that I think he takes that job this year. I really do. I think Kalen DeBoer, I think what he does, it works better. And without the defensive line, I don't think Freddie Roach is a great defensive line coach at Alabama, so that's going to be a fun one to watch. Jake, look, I know you got a busy day ahead of you. Where can people find all this data that you put out? Let's do this again next week. I love crunching these numbers because it's like the stock market. You follow trends and you look for breakouts. You look at a 200-day moving average. We've got 3 months till SEC Media Days, and that's really when college football season starts. But as Coach Spurrier always says, now it's talking season, isn't it? So anyway, how do they follow you? And thank you, as always, for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, glad to be here always, and look forward to the next time. Yeah, just find me on X at Jake Wim. That's JakeWim. Also, CFBHourglass.com. There's a lot of good content I think that we put up there that you can check out. Podcast on Apple Podcast, and then of course you can stream the show on the zone1059.com 3 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday here in Central Mississippi.
All right, we'll do it again next week. Have a great show, great week, man.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it. All right, you too. Now, ECS House Industries in Cherry Valley, Arkansas. They make the Better Roller, the Pulverizer, the Better Chopper. They also make those aerators for the catfish farms that pump the water and everything like that. It's called aquaculture. It's everywhere in a 99,000 square foot warehouse in Cherry Valley, located between Wynn, the city with a smile, and Jonesboro, the borough. HouseIndustriesInc.com, breaking ground. Proud to have Chad House and the great folks over there as a sponsor on the Razorback Report. Dudley, hey Brendan, this guy is George Plimpton, the ultimate bon voyant. This morning he's having croissants and beignets at Cardinals Busch Stadium. Now look at that background. I love looking over there.
I'm just
over
always excited
left shoulder,
for
the arch.
I'm always excited for the pop culture references.
I do. Dudley, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing. Yes, Jalen. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he said that. Yeah, I can't keep him from wearing an R shirt, buddy. I don't.
Blue, orange and blue shirt.
It's one of our look. They get this
Not
in Hewlett.
orange.
Hewlett and Dunn. This one's called the Corner, and it's got Toomer's Oaks on it. But they also have them for all these SEC, ACC, and Big 12 schools. The brand is called Acres Down South. Acres Down South. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, one of our sponsors, has these, and they're selling them so fast. I want to see what the Arkansas one's going to look like. But Dudley,
yeah, I love the shirt. Jalen didn't, but I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, let me tell you this.
I was just saying with the upside down pineapples or something.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Upside down. That's the scary thing.
I just want to find a woman that likes pineapple on her pizza, man. That's like my dating bio profile these days.
But by the way, some of the best deer sausage is this Hawaiian pineapple venison deer. Oh my God, it is. I'm gonna have to get y'all some of that. It's so sweet. It melts in your mouth. Dudley, this last week, John Calipari. I was last Wednesday after I was with you. I was in Little Rock when we did the show. I love that. God, I love that city. So clean, beautiful city. We were up there across the river. We were staying at Jim McClellan's place on the river there, and they're all Razorbacks. They give scholarships to the College of Business. He will be giving the keynote address for the commencement for the College of Engineering with nearly 4,700 students at the University of Arkansas. And now we're going to go do the show up there for the Tennessee-Arkansas game, which is, I think, October 4th. We're going to do the show from the Sigma Newhouse up there in Fayetteville, which he says has a beautiful view of the stadium. And we're going to have a whole weekend up in Fayetteville. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Are you going to go to Media Days, by the way, this year out in Dallas?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to have some fun.
Gonna party.
Yeah,
Marty.
My wife, Petra, has a brother down there. We always use that as time to anytime there's anything in that area, we go.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to sit down with John Calipari? Now, there's different ways to pronounce it. Calipari. Hey, have you had a chance to talk to him yet?
I have not. I just like everybody else. I had the press conference and got all that. Yeah, I tell you what he has done is he hasn't even coached a ball game. He's invigorated the campus with excitement among the other coaches, among the other sports. Arkansas is like anybody else. They want to be, a center of attention or at least getting some attention. And this hire has given them a lot of national publicity. As I was saying, I think all of these sports have been excited about it. I'm not going to let him take credit for last night's rally from 7-0 down against Texas Tech with Arkansas baseball to win 9-8. But I am telling you that, we'll see how the hire goes. But for the first week or so, it has reinvigorated a campus that other than, sports being played on a diamond here lately had been, needing something that was an influx.
John Calipari already has got some commitments and he's getting a lot of visits right now. And there's money there behind him. Bottom line, I think this is the best thing that happened to him. I think he was in a marriage. He stayed an extra 5 years when he should have left Kentucky. But, the model that he uses, you can't argue with having 40 players he recruited to Kentucky in the NBA. Who's going to complain about that? But he's already got the 7'2" center who met with new Kentucky coach Mark Pope, said he's going to do great things here. But by the way, Coach, I am leaving.
Yeah.
What does that say?
Well, Big Z, and I am not going to attempt to say that name. We're going to stick with Big Z. I have trouble with Z's and S's and all that, so we're just going to stick with Big Z. But he was somebody that Coach Cal recruited from Croatia and got him to come over here, and that was one of the main reasons that he went to Kentucky. In fact, the main reason was because Coach Cal was the coach there. He believes that he can help get him to the NBA. He didn't start playing until January. Had some really good games, and had some games where he played sparingly when they were, maybe trying to get a different type of fast break and stuff going there. As Coach Cal said, that Kentucky wasn't much on defense this year, but certainly could score the ball. He's got a lot of other, as you said, he's got some visits set up. And like Coach Muss, every time someone is contacted in the portal, it's not just put out there. Cal goes about his business with a little bit more or a little less publicity, I should say. But here's the thing I do think is that I know that he's going to have 13 really good players here. That's just how he operates.
Yep.
Kentucky fans will tell you that he'll have all the great players and then won't do anything with it when it comes to March because of recent things. But I do think that it's a win-win for everybody. The Kentucky fans, if you listen to them, they haven't wanted him around in the last 5 years, and he's never done anything to send the players to the NBA. He didn't really care about the state. He didn't really care about the program. And now they've got a guy in Mark Pope who lives and breathes Kentucky basketball, and he's good. He's going to win because he lives and breathes Kentucky basketball. You better go get him some players too.
Yeah, got to have some players. All right, I had an interesting discussion last night with someone about Arkansas. When Nolan Richardson was there and you were there, and I think you were a GA or worked with him on his staff, and it got along the lines that toward the end of Nolan's career, he was coached 17 years. Hell of a coach. And I'm so glad that he's come back and they've named the court in his honor, which they should do. It was the catalyst for him being upset that Frank Broyles made 2 or 3 times as much as he did, or Houston Nutt did. What was it? And the way it was handled back then, nowadays, Hunter Yurachek, they got whatever they needed. There's always been that money over in Arkansas. But what really happened there? This was interesting because I love Nolan Richardson because he didn't give a damn what people thought. He was going to do it his way, and he was going to outwork you. And I love coaches like that aren't going to back down. 2
incredibly great men who had great careers, who both like to micromanage everything because it's their program, and that's how Coach Rose saw with football. He had a lot of great assistants, but that was him hiring those assistants. Coach Richardson had the us against the world that he's had since he was born, and really played that into his coaching. I would say, and I was right in the middle of this. I was a reporter that would routinely be in Coach Richardson's office and be in Coach Burrell's office. And they would share stuff about each other. And it just got sideways because sometimes you got to know who the boss is, and sometimes you got to know who runs the program. And those are 2 different things, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, I was asked to, the 2 things I remember about Coach Richardson's trial were that I was asked to testify for both sides and refused to do it. They were going to have to make me, and certainly they didn't have to. And the second of all is you cannot wear a hat into a federal court, or the judge will ask you to take it off before the trial even starts.
Yeah. By the way, never walk and approach the bench without being asked to do so. That happened to me about 6 years ago. Went in my grandfather's courtroom where his portrait is in Memphis, and the judge was up there, a couple of attorneys. They looked like they're doing some paperwork, and I just walked in, and all of a sudden I get the old the Heisman, and I was like, I should know better. And you're right, but
I don't spend a lot of time. I don't spend a lot of time in court, so
I don't either.
Wearing my normal outfit with a hat, I'm scary looking without a hat.
Let me tell you,
I wore it into the court. It came off really quick.
Well, and you talked about that, but Nolan Richardson still lives up there, and he's
a big fan of the hire. He's a big fan of this new hire.
Good, because he's a hard ass. And when Arkansas came in, he came in '85, I think, is when I was still in college, and he came from Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That pipeline, Tulsa is maybe what, or as Uncle Jed would say, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Mr. Brewster's OK Oil Company was headquartered, which, by the way, at one time, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the oil capital of the world. And it's surprising that the Arkansas River, which is born there in Tulsa and goes all the way, around Dumas down there where it dumps into the Mississippi. By the way, that downtown Little Rock barge traffic is really cool. There's white pelicans all over that river. And you ever go into Little Rock? We went to this restaurant, Bossa Nova. Get the Palms.
I like
Palms. Palm of Heart chicken soup is unbelievable.
I can dance to Bossa Nova while eating chicken soup.
Yeah. Well, the owner's wife is from Brazil, which is just south of Little Rock, isn't it, Dudley?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we don't want to talk about
Careful
the great
with that
Razorback baseball team because they're on autopilot. They always are. Let's talk about some football right now. John Calipari, when he was at Kentucky, there was people tried to make something out of that. Hell, you know what? Every coach wants his program to be the best. Let's talk about him and Sam Pittman together, what they can do in recruiting, and Bobby Petrino. You think those three are going to work together? I would think they would.
Yeah, I would think that you still, as the head coach of your sport, are going to have to pull off the recruiting mostly by yourself. But yes, meeting Coach Cal will be a factor. All these things, factor into football, basketball, recruiting, all that. You have a home game if they get to see the fervor of the fans, or if it gets to like it did at the end of the football season last year, the end of the basketball season last year, they get to see that not enough people are showing up. So again, I go back to the excitement that Coach Cal has brought here. I do think that it appears from their conversations together that they all really respect each other. They're all saying the right things right now. As I said, every coach on this campus is excited about it because Arkansas was in the news. It has been publicity that you couldn't have bought. Well, you're going to pay $8 million for it or whatever, but over these years, and you're going to get a lot of money from the NIL, going into different sports. But I do think, again, that before he even coaches a game, he's reinvigorated the basketball program, which had, by the way, just one down year, although some people didn't forget that. And it's done, wonders for every other thing on campus.
Dudley, two things. One, I forgot to send you the link, and I think you've learned that link is good every week from thank you. God, the absent-minded. Number two, I want you to give out a salute. This is a new tradition we're going to start doing on this show. Vince Ferrara is going to join us from the Sports Animal in Knoxville in a minute. A new salute to just a town, any town in the great state of Arkansas, and let people know how they can follow you. I want you to stay on with us, but I want to do this. Let people know how they can follow you. But salute a town in Arkansas today that you know of.
Shout out to Possum Grape. It's always been one of my favorites. It's just a little ways from Newport. Always been one of my favorite names, and also a safe word that I've used over the years.
Possum Grape?
Possum Grape.
Where is that, near Evening Shade or Hardy?
That's near Newport.
That was the best joke.
You get close to Newport when you get to Possum Grape.
That was your best joke. That was your best. Your safe word is possum. That's what it is.
Possum Grape.
Funny.
Possum Grape.
Mine's Mexico. So what are you going to
do?
There
you go.
Yeah.
By the way,
Mexico.
Dudley, I was asking a friend of mine, we love pie. My wife loves pies. Go to Blue Jays. I told her about Blue Jays in Grubbs, Arkansas. You have to have a spotter to help you lift it up. The peanut butter cream pie. It's got that thick of whipped cream on top of it.
No,
it's like a 10-pound weight plate. And their chocolate pie ain't bad either. But,
yeah, we definitely off the rails here now.
Yeah, we are off the rails right now. That's like this
by
is
the way,
porn all day. It's just
by the way, it looks like you're at Reynolds Razorback Stadium right there. I know that's Busch Stadium. Have hold on.
The arch in the background.
Yeah, the arch which wobbles, and because concrete has no natural tensile strength. But how do people follow you, Dudley? Before we bring Vince on, and I love to get the exchange between the writers that cover all these different schools. But how do they follow you?
Yeah, Hogville.net is our website to cover all 19 Arkansas sports, and also Fearless Friday is the high school site. I'm spending more time on the college side right now, but we'll get back to the high school site for too long. And then Twitter, where you can learn about the grandson, Arthur A-Train Dawson, who's 2 months old now, and getting ready to declare for the draft.
I love it. And
he is not in the portal.
It's not in the portal.
No. We don't do the portal thing. We don't do the portal thing.
No.
We stick to what we start with.
Yeah. I got a grandson coming a week from today, the 24th. And they always come on time, I'm sure. It just doesn't work that way. All right. Dudley, okay, as we wait for Vince to join us, looking at the SEC right now in baseball, how good is the league? I mean, Arkansas with Dave Van Horn, again, they're just a constant, and we got to get a national championship. We did last year with LSU, and then look at LSU last year compared to this year, and look at Ole Miss 2 years ago, and now they're struggling. And Mississippi State 3 years ago, they're struggling. Not maybe such a great idea. As crazy as that sounds, why are they having such a hard time sustaining it? Is everybody else just pumping more money into it?
Well, I think that, when you have great players, and it's like any other sport, when you have great players, and we know that Paul Skeens was the key. I mean, they had a lot of great players at LSU. Paul Skeens was the key. If he had come to Arkansas, as they thought he was at one point, before the NIL got better at LSU, then I think Arkansas probably would have won the national championship last year. I mean, I think he was that good. He's about to be called up by Pittsburgh. He's just dominating the minor leagues and all that.
Yeah.
But I do think, in one poll, you've got the top 4 teams are SEC teams. Obviously, Texas A&M is on the run right now, 8 of 9, and took over for Arkansas, who lost 2 at Alabama when their offense went away. And again, last night, they were down 7-0. Started getting some hits in one inning, had a 6-run inning. You very rarely see a game where you have both teams score 6 runs, and the one who scored 6 runs last ends up winning.
Yeah.
They've been really good. The pitching's been really good. The offense has been somewhat spotty. It's got to get better. They play Texas Tech again today at 4 o'clock with Carl Ravitz and Kyle Peterson back on the call on the SEC network today after ESPN2. But it's just a matter of, I think there's a lot of really good baseball teams. Tennessee is going to will be playing Kentucky this weekend. Kentucky, who actually has the best record in the SEC at 14-1. When you look at it overall, Arkansas has a game lead over Texas A&M in the West. But there's some great teams there, and it's all going to come down to pitching. Not only pitching quality, but pitching depth.
Yeah, and it is the hardest position: a point guard, pitching, and a quarterback. Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the Sports Animal in Knoxville on the Vol Network. This is the Vol Network. We're talking college baseball, football, the portal. It's day 2 of Chaos Central. What's the latest? Lauren, what do you got up there on the hill from Tennessee, outgoing and incoming? All right, Vince, I don't know.
You there, Vince?
Yeah.
Tune in, Vince.
Yeah. Vince, we can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
You got that you're muted, or you got that really good internet going?
While we're waiting for him, I'll point out that in Arkansas, we thought Jacoby Criswell was probably going to be the number 2 quarterback. He's now in the transfer portal, will be headed to his 3rd different school. Wish him well. He's a good kid, but he's in a situation where Taylon Green in the last Saturday scrimmage he showed why he was Bobby Petrino's choice to come out of the portal, and why he's the choice to be number 1. He dropped passes like dimes and just looked really good. I mean, again, we preface it by saying he did that against Arkansas, but Arkansas's got some pretty good defense.
Well, remember in 2008, the first year Bobby Petrino was at Arkansas. No. John L. Smith was there in 2008. I'm trying to think, was 2009 the first year of Bobby Petrino?
The '08, yeah.
It was 08. Okay, I was right.
Yeah,
okay.
He did really well, obviously. And John L. Smith was.
It was 2012.
The interim thing after the April Fool's Massacre.
Yeah, exactly. But the 2010 and 2011 seasons, Arkansas was like 21 and 3.
5.
Okay, 21 and 5. Okay. So nobody really saw that coming. They didn't predict it. And I remember at the time going, Bobby Petrino will have Arkansas winning double digits within 3 years. I will bet you a sack full of frozen yellow crawfish tails he will. And he did. I don't know how good the talent is, but again, with the portal being what it is, Jason, you can close that gap really, really fast. It's something I don't think enough people appreciate. I'm not saying, look, the way Arkansas ended last year, you can't believe it, but Jacoby Briswell can't get on there from, where's he from, Malvern, Arkansas? Morrilton, okay. If he can't, and Bobby Petrino, one thing about him is he's honest. Does this dress make me look fat, Coach? Yes. He doesn't care. He's agnostic when it comes to picking a depth chart. I mean, I don't think don't sleep on this guy. He's dangerous as a coach.
Yeah, and obviously he had Ryan Mallett when he first got here, and that certainly helps you out when you're a quarterback of that caliber. Miss that dude, obviously, after he passed away this summer. But you also had a great influx of Arkansas players, and Joe Adams, the 3 from Warren. So many great players that came in that recruiting class, that first recruiting class of his. I give our mutual friend Tim Horton a lot of credit for holding things together during the transition of Coach Petrino coming here. The other thing I would say is you also Jim Youngblood, who didn't get to play a lot when he was here, a quarterback from Camden Fairview, was big in keeping that class together as well. One of these guys is, you see as a quarterback who commits early and then starts helping the others recruit. So that was a great deal to help him. Now, as far as these days, you can't turn it around as quick as you can with a basketball program with some great transfer portals. But I do believe in looking at what they brought in last Saturday and during the rest of the practices, they feel really good about the talent level going up. But they also have at least 5, and I guess it's now 7 because Isaiah Augusta, the running back, has also gotten in the portal along with Jacoby Briswell. So they'll have 7 guys. They want to add another offensive lineman, wanting to add a couple of defensive linemen, a linebacker, and another wide receiver. It's just like anything else. You go and look at the pantry and you see what you need, and you need to go get it.
Yeah, I agree. And another town, George, one of our viewers down in Florida, Blytheville, Arkansas, home of Acre Air Force Base, which is closed. Dixie Pig Barbecue, the Hossel family, celebrating 100 years. Some of the best barbecue sauce comes in like a clear ketchup bottle. You've got to pop the top with a knife, and it squirts on there. Vince Ferrara, Better Signal Now. We got you with us. Let's talk about the latest news from up in Knoxville on the Hill. The portal, it's day 2 of Chaos Central. Who's coming? Who's going? Can you even keep up with it? If anybody can, you can. Yeah.
You're muted.
Okay, you're muted.
I think you're muted, Vince.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe your microphone's not connected.
Okay.
We see you though.
We see you.
You look sexy.
Looking good.
Yeah, hey, you look great. That smile is a home run. Look at those white teeth. You are one.
What Mildred?
What's your safe word, Vince? I want to know. I want to know today.
Hey, today's
Vince,
Blue Horseshoe says, Vince, can you hear us?
Well, around here it's the loofah. It's the loofah in the villages. It's all.
Hey, we can always lip read. He says that there's a lot of activity going on at Tennessee. Some coming, some going. They still feel good about the players they have. They feel good about the ones that are coming in. Spring practice went really well, and how about that basketball team?
Yeah, he's not muted. He can hear us though. And
I'm gonna. You guys keep talking about all that good stuff, and then I'll work.
Dudley, let's talk about something here too. When you're looking at the sound bites, we used to joke around, and when I was a TV reporter, about you could take the top 10 sound bites from athletes that you interview, put them in a time capsule, and bring them out in 50 years. They're going to be the same. when do you not see or hear a coach at media days go, and what's the over and under on the word excited? We're excited about the offseason. We're excited about the future. We're excited about you never hear someone say, man, I'm really just bummed out about the sorry group of kids we've got on this roster.
You're going to suck. And this, I'm probably not going to have a job at the end of the year.
It's like getting Brother Theodore on the old Letterman show. Remember that Brother Theodore? Dave, you must understand.
I do think it's very impressive that each coach somehow is able to recruit kids over.
You can hear me. I think
here you go, Vince.
Over the spring and summer that fits their culture.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
Vince, let's talk about what's going on up on the hill in Knoxville, and we'll try it again on the portal. Who's coming? Who's going? We need to have the crawl underneath, like on the stock market, underneath the screen to keep up with everybody's rosters.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry about the technical issues. I think I figured it out. But, yeah, in terms of football, there's been one exit in the portal, and that's Tennessee's leading tackler last year in linebacker Elijah Herring. 2 years in the program. Last year, he filled in for Keenan Peely, the BYU transfer who got hurt after the Virginia game last year. And Herring saw, I think, the writing on the wall in terms of not being a first-team guy. Peely is back. And then also Arion Carter, I think, has a lot more upside and an ability to play that outside, that second linebacker position. So he's still coming back from injury, but I anticipated Carter to start. And then another second-year linebacker in Jeremiah Thielander has had as good a spring as anyone has. That Brent Hubbs backed that up from VolQuest when we had him on earlier this week. So he's been a factor. Plus, you have a number of other guys that have been added to this group and are getting better from the signing class. And Edwin Spillman, kid that played for Trent Dilfer at Lipscomb Academy in the Mid-State, now UAB's coach. So it's a better group than they've had in a while. So with Elijah Herring moving on to the portal, he's the only exit to this point. No additions, although Tennessee is getting a visit from one of the top players in this spring transfer portal, in Oregon State running back Damian Martinez. He set 5 visits, and one of them is to Tennessee. That's big because the running back position on this football team is the number one need in the portal. Not that they don't have running backs. Dylan Sampson was the number 3 back last year, but he is really the only experienced back that's back for them. They have a second-year back in Khalifa Keith. Their second-year back in Cameron Seldon had an excellent bowl game, has been injured. He may not be ready till into September. And then they brought in a 4-star running back, Peyton Lewis, who hasn't been able to practice, who's been injured too. So a very thin group, bunch of walk-ons in the spring game. So that's in terms of football. In terms of basketball, been more active. Tennessee's had 4 departures, guys, from the portal from Rick Barnes' team from last year. That's in addition to 3 starters that are out of eligibility, including Dalton Connect, Josiah Jordan-James, and Santiago Vescovi. Jonas Adu hit the portal. Tobe Awaka, their other big, hit the portal. So now you have a very bare front court, and then 2 reserve guards, and DJ Jefferson and Freddie DeLeon hit the portal as well. So a lot of numbers to replace. They only had 1 in the signing class, and Bishop Boswell. They added Darling Stone Dubar, who was a very intriguing 6'8" guard, who was a very efficient shooter, very versatile player. He's been added in the portal. And then they're looking at Cade Tyson from the Mid-State at Belmont, who's an elite shooter, probably a Tennessee, North Carolina decision for him. Igor Milicic, a front court player, again, a high efficiency shooter in the front court. So from Charlotte, he just visited. And then they're also looking at a couple of other guys in the portal as well. So it's very active in basketball because they have more positions there, and it's more critical for them to add, as opposed to football that is not as dire a need, I don't think. Outside of running back isn't even dire, but I think that's the top priority. And they'll look for a kicker if he happens to a good one happens to be there, because Tennessee has added, their last 2 kickers have come from the portal in the past, and both of them have worked out.
Yeah. Dudley, you heard what Vince just said about the portal. Your leading tackler leaving, and then you talked about the running back position. Let's just put it in perspective how much it's changed in college football. Go back 5 or 10 years ago, you could rattle off half a dozen stud running backs in the SEC. Can either of y'all name the leading SEC rusher, the returning leading SEC rushing champion going into this year and where he is in school?
I couldn't this year. Last year it was Rocket Sanders, obviously, but I can't do it off the top of my head.
Isn't it Montrell Johnson at Florida?
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean that's the difference is now, and it jump. I mean, go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out. It's just what a world we live in.
Here's one of the things, and this portal is just nuts. But here's one of the things: you work so hard to get depth in your program, and then with the way that you can transfer now, you go out and you during the December signing period, during the early portal period, you go out and you get the guys who can come in and start for you, but also ones that can add depth. Then you get to the spring. Some of these guys go through the spring practice. And Isaiah Augusta, after playing in the spring game, decided that he's going to transfer. You've got now you have recruited to where you can have depth, and now you got guys leaving the program. Arkansas's entire linebacking core went out the door. They got some good linebackers coming in, and I think they'll be okay there. But still, a couple of injuries, and you're going to be, in a bad situation. And that's why here you are in the spring period, which may be the most important thing for a lot of college football coaches now, to be able to keep guys in the program that just went through spring practice, and then figure out which guys that just went through spring practice with other programs decided they were going to leave, if they're good enough to come here and if their mindset is right to come here. It's a. I mean, they get paid a lot of money for a reason, but still, I like being a sports writer much better than I would. I think a college football coach having to deal with the rules and stuff they have now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Rob. Real quick.
No, go.
What Dudley was talking about. In right now, keep in mind that there are still a lot of teams that have not completed their spring practice yet, which means we're not. This spring portal isn't complete right now. It's not like, all right, it's the first day everybody rushes in and now we know what we have. A lot of guys, including from Power 5 conferences, haven't had their spring game. A number of them will have it this weekend. Then you have the exit interviews. You want to see where you're at. Look, some of it is going to be the coaches telling the players, look, son, here's the reality of it. You're way behind on the depth chart. This is what we're going to do, especially for new coaching staffs. And then so they're going to be encouraged to look for other opportunities. That frees up a position to maybe go add somewhere else where you need someone. Those are the games that are being played both ways. And Rob, you'll love this, especially both of you guys will. You talk about guys hitting the portal and changing their mind. This involves Tennessee. Tyler Barron is transferring for the third time since the end of last season. Tyler Barron was a starting defensive end for Tennessee. He hit the portal. He went to Ole Miss, committed to Ole Miss for a month, then changed his mind, went to Louisville, and joined a couple of teammates that left Tennessee that went to Louisville. And now he's back in the portal again. So what decisions are we making that involve football? Because it's like, we can go get married this weekend. I mean, if it doesn't work out, we'll just go to the divorce.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah. It doesn't matter. There's that out is forcing kids to make bad decisions that don't involve what's best for them from a football standpoint.
Yeah, and you got some NIL agreements of kids who are going to transfer, who are going to get in the portal, but they're waiting to get to their last couple of checks from this year from their NIL agreements. And if they get in the portal too quick or they leave too quick, they don't get that last check. It's a business. It's pro sports now. It's, as I said, I'm glad that I'm coming to the end. I don't know what rules are going to come in now, but I can't. I just can't.
Well, throw this one out there. Monday, April 15th is tax day, unless you got an extension until October 15th. But you're hearing, when you talk to a lot of people, you hear stuff like, why do I have to pay taxes on money I've already spent? That's how a lot of these kids are. I beat this in the ground, hard, but financial literacy. I just think, Vince, what you just gave, I mean, some of these guys, I'm entering the portal. I'm discerning the priesthood. I mean, I'm thinking about going to seminary at St. Bernard's Abbey in Coleman. Come on. If I'm a coach today, I want to go recruit. I'll tell you where I'll go. I'll go to places, I say it a lot, the Muck, down in South Florida, Lake Okeechobee. Mosquitoes are the size of quarters, but you got a bunch of tough kids. A lot of them are Haitians, the immigrants, kids that have come over here harvesting, picking the sugarcane crop. These kids know how to work. You find me a kid that's got a work ethic from a small town, I don't care, big town, whatever. I want a kid that's worked. I'll build a roster full of tough kids. And Dudley, you hinted on something that we're hearing about, and it's being glossed over because the guys wearing skinny jeans on ESPN drinking the Kool-Aid, they don't want to say anything to disrupt anybody or hurt anybody's feelings, but by God, we will. The kids coming in today aren't ready. Ask anybody in the military. We're 40% below the numbers as a nation in recruiting in the armed forces. Kind of obvious why. But, guys, I think the portal, what is it, 50%, Vince, of the kids that go in the portal are just perpetual orphans? They're just never picked up? It's where you go because you're too afraid or embarrassed to say you quit or you got cut. You hinted on it, and that's the truth.
Yeah, and I've been very clear. I think it's the wussification of sports. I am all for health concerns and all that, but kids these days are soft. That's not a political statement. That's just a deal. Kids don't want to get dirt on them these days. We used to eat dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I know I sound like an old man saying get out of my yard, but it's such a different mentality and physicality for that matter. That is involved in sports these days. And there's so many easy way outs that my dad and your dad never would have let us even consider, much less taken the route.
Yeah. I mean, Vince, think about that. He's exactly right. And you're not an old man. You're young in the big picture.
Well, here's another thing is we're in a state of empowerment for the student athlete. And in plenty of ways, that is a good thing because they have had no power for a long time.
I agree with that.
They have more power, but caught up in the empowerment movement is the entitlement movement.
Correct.
So here's an example. Let me read you a quote from an On3 article about what an agent told On3 about dealing with a parent in the recruiting process. Quote, we had a player's mother approach us. This is in NIL. We had a player's mother approach us and asked us to guarantee in a contract that her son received a certain amount of playing time because she had heard another player had a similar agreement. We were just like, you're out of your mind if you think we're going to walk into a coach's office and do that. They were asking for a certain number of looks per game as well. So it's not just wanting the money, is they're now using this as leverage and families are getting involved. And that's as big a problem as anything is you got the agents, you got hangers on, you got family. Everyone wants a piece of this. So now they want guarantees based on the leverage that they've developed with the play in empowerment. And it's a byproduct of what should have been done to help the players in the past. And the NCAA was so late in the game. Now all this at one time, and you got a whole bunch of other issues that have popped up, which honestly is no surprise. We thought that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I definitely have no trouble with the kids getting NIL, and I think they should be able to transfer it. I do think the rules are a little bit out of whack in the way they have. What's the word I'm trying to use here? The way that it's ended up being executed. Perry Mason would have a fit. Yeah. Because legality wise, it's okay, but there's no commonality to it.
Yeah. Well, a lack of prior planning and preparation leads to piss poor performance. That's just what it is. We played kick the can, Vince, for decades on this. And again, it's why 95% of the time when it comes to the transfer of wealth, and this needs to be imparted, this bit of wisdom on every coach and these agents and this NIL crowd is this. The first generation employs, the second enjoys, and the third destroys. That's why it's so hard to transfer money. Blood's thicker than water, money's thicker than blood. So you got all these maggots and parasites, these bums that are hanging around you. You know what the coolest thing is to be financially well off and blessed and have your stuff together and be able to help others. That's what it's really about. That's the greatest thing in the world to do, is to help people anonymously, though, without people knowing. Vince, you and Dudley both absolutely are knocking the skin off the ball today because you're both right. I got to say this, Vince. I really like Josh Heupel. You know, cousin Mark Ham, up there in Knoxville. I tell you about Audrey's cousin Mark, and he's our great friend. I love the guy. And his son worked with Josh Heupel, one year in college, for driving his family around and got to know him. Loves the guy. Josh Heupel is from South Dakota. Mm-hmm. I imagine there was a little bit of ranch work, in his life growing up. He's probably a tough ass kid. I mean, when I think of Oklahoma, rest his soul, I think of Toby Keith. You know what a wildcatter is? Go out there and work on an oil rig sometime. Fill my locker room with guys like that. Hey, you think Rocky Balboa would have worked if he would have been some elitist snob from a prep school in New England? No, you can't. We're getting away from what made America the greatest country in the world again, but we got to get it back.
Right, I will say there's definitely tough people from those areas that really had to work. But look, I grew up in the big city. I grew up in Tampa. Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot, but I'm a city kid, and I have elite work ethic, and I bust my butt.
No, I don't mean that. You know what I mean? It's your family, because I'm from Memphis, 1.2 million people. It's like a small town. You can find them anywhere. Those are the stories that we love. Yeah. And Dudley's from a small town. Tampa, people don't, Tampa's a big town, but it's not as big as Miami. But right. You got all those Cuban immigrants that came in 58 and 59 when Batista was deposed, when Castro came in. But look, tough people last. Tough times don't last forever, but tough people do. Why are we not telling these kids? Why is nobody on ESPN and Fox having a pair of stones to stand up on TV and go, enough of this? Hey, Screaming A. Smith is starting to do it on ESPN. Stephen A. or Screaming A., whatever you want to call him, but he's starting to do it. I think some of these people have reached the boiling point. Dudley, what you just said, and Vince, why are the coaches not coming out? Nick Saban, it ran him out of the game. He doesn't want to be a part of it. That ain't good.
Lane Kiffin has criticized them, but he's also in a position where he has to play the game, so he gets criticized for going on both ends. So there's really not it shouldn't be on them to do it. The NCAA should have been way out ahead of it. And you want to fix it now, and look, Jimmy Himes actually has the document. They actually did craft something before, like a year or so before this actually started, the NIL and everything. They actually had a plan in place. They crafted. Greg Sankey has acknowledged it as well. It's just they couldn't get it passed. It couldn't be agreed upon. But they put some work together in this document. But the thing is, they should have been way out ahead of it. They shouldn't have waited till the last minute, and then people were shooting holes in it and finding this wrong. Yeah. If you get out ahead of it, instead of the NCAA always waiting to react to issues, instead of being progressive, then they would have had something in place that could have avoided a lot of this or evolved as time went on and things changed. So, it's frustrating. But look, the spring part of the portal, not quite what the winter is, but there's still starters to be had, and it's crazy. It is absolutely free agency out there right now when you're just like, hey, I need this, so I'm going to look for this, and now it fills our timelines trying to figure all this stuff out.
Dudley, weigh in on what he just said, because Vince, you've also got a hell of a career that you're building, and like Dudley is, and it didn't start out. No one gave you a damn thing except one thing, an opportunity, and you take advantage of it. But you've worked for everything you got. Neither one of y'all was born on third base and ever claims to have hit a triple.
Yeah, college football now has free agency. It has contract extensions. It has the waiver wire.
Yeah.
And it also has basically a CEO instead of a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Well, what about the fans? Yeah. Here's the question. I'm going to throw it to you, Vince, and then back to Dudley. Vince first. The fans. What if fans start hitting the portal and, going to, I'm done with my school. Well, we talk about the victimhood class is a bunch of losers. Quit claiming you're a victim, okay? You're not victims. The fans are the victims here. Who pays for all this stuff? Who funds it? Without the fans and the boosters supporting NIL and all this stuff, what do we got? Vince?
Yeah, I think you probably will see that. I mean, the younger generation, I think you very well could see kids that don't have loyalty. Oh, by the way, it's hard to have loyalty these days, right? And have that emotional investment in players when they're bouncing around every year to somebody different. And so they'll latch on to individual players and follow them around. And look at the fandom of Caitlin Clark. So now everyone that liked her at Iowa will follow her in the WNBA. I think you're going to have people kind of latching on to whatever player they like. If they bounce around, if you had a Quinshawn Judkins fan, and then they may start rooting for Ohio State or plenty of other examples of it. I think you're going to see more of that with young people that don't have the years invested in fandom.
Dudley, think about all the lifelong Razorbacks fans that and there've been some lean years. Pick the program. It's been tough anywhere.
Yeah, and you saw some people jumping off the boat last year. During the 4-8 season, especially mid-season, they forget about what had happened in the past, or they remembered what had happened in the past. Either one way or the other. It is, no matter, if you've got 19 sports at the university, because football has always been the bell cow here. You have a lot of mentality that you want the football team to win. And sometimes if the other sports are doing well, you say, yeah, but football. And that's sad, but it is, it's both financially and mentally a lot to do with the state's fans, especially when they don't have a pro team per se.
Yeah. And loyalty, it's a two-way street. But Vince, I know you got to get to a meeting. Again, Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the Sports Animal, Vol Network. What's your Twitter handle? And if you would, tag us on everything you do. We'll do the same thing for you.
Absolutely. The handle is the same for all the socials. It's Vince Sports, VINCE Sports. And then on our website, 991thesportsanimal.com, podcasts of our morning show. John Wilkerson and I do 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 5 to 8 a.m. Central. We had Jamal Lewis, one of the best running backs in Tennessee history, on with us this morning. He's going to be a part of Philip Fulmer's golf tournament on Friday. So it was great to visit with him. So that interview and a bunch of other cool stuff, All Network Baseball, plenty of other stuff. So check out our website, check out the socials for all that stuff. And we'll definitely share your work as well.
I remember when he broke his knee in the Auburn game in 98, and Travis Henry from Frostproof, Florida came in, finished out the season. Jamal was from Southwest DeKalb in Decatur, right here in Atlanta where we are today. Mm-hmm. Hey, Vince, I hope you know how much people appreciate what you do day in and day out. I get so many positive comments. Dudley, the same. They're going, these guys work harder than a dozen Mennonite farmers. It is appreciated. We love it. We love you being on here. Just tag us out. What's Mama Ferrara's best thing she ever makes in the kitchen?
Arancine, rice balls with ground meat, mozzarella cheese in the middle. It's amazing.
I can't. Vince, have a great day.
All right, you guys. Appreciate you.
Right, thank you. Dudley, I'm going to tell you something, man. I wouldn't swap, the experiences that we have. This show, what's so much fun is we're connecting with fans of all 16 SEC fan bases. We've been working on Texas and OU since it was announced back July of 21, because we started 2 weeks later the 5-6 day a week format. But having you on here and Vince, it's just, and Jake Wimberly in the first section, you know, Jake's a civil engineer, a Mississippi State grad. He does all these numbers and matrix and all, covering Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, but all of college football. This is the stuff that's so much fun. But if you were going to say to a fan, growing up in America, and I'm talking New York Times, Denver Post, you pick them, who ever had a better, more thorough sports section than the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette? Remember that? 18, 20 pages sometimes?
Yeah, the Arkansas Gazette and the Arkansas Democrat were what I was weaned on. It's one of the, there were a couple of reasons, obviously, that I wanted to be a sports writer. And, you know, I think that I travel, you know, a lot of different places, and I look at their newspapers, and it's just not what we have here. And we're very fortunate. I mean, obviously, Democrat Gazette now, you know, basically delivers on Sunday, and that's it. And they've got digital, but it's still, you know, I still look at that paper on Sunday. I may look at it on iPad the rest of the week, but I still look at it on Sunday. It's just a, you know, a comforting thing. Yeah, I'm very impressed with, you know, what this state's newspapers have been able to do over the years in terms of getting information to people and making a difference.
Yeah. And look, I'll just say this. You ever notice anyone that's great at anything, they practice a lot. Practice reading, folks. It's like lifting weights and running and swimming with your brain. Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. Thanks so much. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and help other people. Don't ask for anything. Just do great works. That's what we're here for. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Thanks for watching.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.